Welcome to Swedish Junior Hockey Podcast. Today's guest, the new J20 coach in Rogle, BK J20, Adam Bengtsson. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
This episode is brought to you by Scandlux, your home for Scandinavian luxury products for the U.S. market. You can find us at scandlux.com.
So we were chatting a little bit before we hit record, and I know that you have. Let's start a little bit about that because I know you had to put your son down a little bit.
Yeah, he had to go away for a few minutes now while we're recording because otherwise it would be much noise in the background.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Well, I live in Ängelholm, where Rogle is located. I'm playing, and I'm born and raised here. Been here for almost my entire life, and my girlfriend also is from the area, and we have a little son together and a little mini dash hound. So it's a full house here.
How old is he? Your son?
My son, he's 1.5.
Oh, great. Awesome. Well, so let's start geographical lesson as we normally do. Ängelholm, where Rogle is located. How would you describe it? Where is it?
It's almost as far south you can come. We have I think one hour approximate to Copenhagen, maybe a little bit more. So we're pretty close to Denmark and down in the south.
Yeah. So I grew up in Leksand, so we're going to, of course, have the Leksand moments in here. We'll start with famous players from Rogle. What comes to your mind of famous players other than Adam Bengtsson?
Yeah, he's not that famous, I think. But no, I would say first to come to mind for me is Bengtsson, someone I watched a lot growing up. And also when he came back, I was around, I think, 13, 14. So when he came back from the Islanders to play in Allsvenskan with Rogle, that was a big thing. So I think that's the first name that pops up for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, so I'm cheating a little bit. I have Rogle's Wikipedia page up. Kari Erolanta, Jonas Bergqvist, Heinz Ehlers, Jens Nielsen, and Jonas Nordqvist. What's the common denominator?
Oh, you're going for the Leksand thing?
I had to pull a little bit of Leksand moment in here.
Yeah.
Actually, and Uffe Sterner, maybe. I know, maybe not. No, probably not. But when I was growing up, so I'm 48 now. When I was growing up, Eloranta, Bergqvist, Heinz Ehlers, Jens Nielsen were all playing in Leksand, and I knew of Jonas Bergqvist. I mean, he's been pretty. He's probably other than Ken Jönsson, probably the most famous player that come out of Rogle.
Yeah, and then also Ken, his brother, of course, Jürgen, but he's spent most of his time in Färjestad, so that's why the connection isn't the same as with Kenny, I think.
Yeah, then there's these other two twins, Henrik and Joel Lundqvist, is listed on here, but I don't know.
Yeah, they were here. They were here I think 2 or 3. Actually, my dad coached them when they played here in Rogle. Okay. So for him, it's important to say that they have been playing here.
Oh, that's great. Actually, Jonas Nordqvist, I played with his brother a long time ago. Niklas, which is Jonas' older brother, was on my team when I was 12, and I remember Jonas when he was playing with tape balls in the locker room. So that's my little Jag mötte Sally, or no, I met, what's the saying when you know somebody famous? So anyway, so I had a little suspicion here about, so let's start with a little bit about your background, your playing career. Your dad was a coach there in Rogle.
Yeah, first he was a player a long time ago, and then he started coaching, and I think he ended up spending 27 years as a coach in the club for the juniors and the youth teams. Had half a season he was in the pro team, but otherwise he's been in the youths and junior organization. I had him as a coach when I played growing up. Sometimes good, sometimes not that good, maybe, I don't know. And then actually my first year as a coach was his last, so we kind of shifted there.
Yeah, I had a feeling, actually, I didn't know that. And I had, when I'm doing my research on you, and here's what I see when I'm going through your elite prospects and looking you up. Number one, you're a young guy to be, you got an early start, and I'll put that in my notes here. First job, Rogle 2021, U16.
Yeah, and that was my first my second year as like a full-time coach, and before that I spent 3 years working on the side and then having the hockey as well. So but yeah,
and then so 2 years U16, 1 year J18, regional and national, and now the new J20 coach. And my first impression was, wow, that's a fast ascent to a national, J20 national, one of the top teams in the country. So I had a feeling that there's a history behind that, and a comfort, not just that you were born there, but of who you are as a person. So interesting.
Oh.
So what about you as a player? I mean, so you grew up in Ängelholm, played hockey gymnasium there, I'm assuming?
Yep.
And because you're 29 now, so, you know, when we talk to different people, some went into hockey gymnasium before it was hockey gymnasium or NIUs. But when you were there, it was NIU and one of the top NIUs in the country.
Yeah, that's how it was. And I was actually coming in as a reserve, so I got the spot pretty late. And then I had 3 years in the juniors here, and I mean, was a really good experience. Like, it's probably the most fun years you have is like going to a NIU and playing those junior years. Then me as a player, I think it was, know how it can be, was a pretty good player when you were young, scoring much goals. Me personally, way too lazy. So that was a wake-up call coming up there, and all of a sudden you had like 20 players that were approximate the same level as you, or many of them even better. So that was a bit of a wake-up call, but adapted, and I had really fun playing those years, but we're never a top player there.
Yeah. So, and then played a few years, and then now, I mean, how did you always knew that you were going to be a coach?
No, but I was starting to think about it actually when I started my J20 year, because I was pretty like a fourth line player, but still I felt like I could contribute to the other guys with feedback, and every time I was talking, the guys were listening, so it didn't matter that I didn't play the most or score the most goals. Like things I had to put in was good things, and also the boys and the coaches thought that. So that's all a little bit where the thoughts were beginning. And then, of course, having a dad who has been a coach for that long, that helped as well. So that's where it started, I think.
Yeah, I found a picture of you actually with an assistant or alternate captain on your jersey. I would say this is your U16 year, maybe.
Yeah. That would it be?
You know, it's you could do a lot of research really quick, and you can find a lot of things. I'm glad that I'm 48 and there's not a lot of pictures of me out there, but I'm a little bit curious about that, because I've been a coach, and my son plays, and he never got the C. And one of the reasons why he never got the C was because I was the coach, but he had an A as well that other people gave him. I didn't give it out. Same thing for you?
No, not there. I didn't have my dad as a coach there, so I can't say it was that. Actually, as I remember it, I think I got the question to be the captain, but I passed it over to another guy because I think he were more suitable. And then I said I could take an A if you're interested in that. If I remember it correct, I think it was something like that.
Awesome. I just think that that's an interesting thing. I mean, we different people have different philosophies of who's going to be a captain, and I always, as a coach, I always felt that it was more up to the players, and they all knew who the leaders were anyway, and that was just an outward designation of who the leadership group of the players were. But I just thought that was interesting. So you moved from J18, only 1 year in J18, and right away go up into J20. It's a big step.
Yeah, it's a big step. On the other hand, all the guys, or 90% of the guys in the J20 team, that are players that I have either coached before when they were younger in the club, or been working with on the hockey gym for the past I think I've been on the hockey gym for 5 years. So all the guys there has I work with on a daily basis. So yeah, it's a big step, but I feel comfortable knowing the guys, and they know me, and pretty confident in how we want to achieve good things together.
Yeah, let's start by talking about the team around you, because Rogle is a big organization. There's a big difference between the way I look at it in Swedish clubs. You have the elite clubs, Färjestad. I was going to say Brynäs, but now they're not in the SHL anymore. But you got these established clubs. Rogle is one of them that has been the SHL for, as when I was a kid. So I'm, at least the last 30 years, they've been in the SHL and been established and been same thing with the junior programs for a long, long time. But there's also, so the team around you, you're moving in now from J18 into J20. Was the assistant coach, goalie coach, the positions around you, were they already there, or are they new as well?
No, the assistant coach is a new guy coming in.
Yeah.
Goalie coach is the same as we have had for last, I think, 10 years or something. So that's also a guy who knows them well. And then the assistant coach on the 20 team last year, Linus, he's the new junior GM. So it's some new guys coming in, but on the other hand, we have a good structure of coaches and staff who's been around the team for a long time as well. So it's a good mix, I think.
And your new assistant coach, he's coming with a lot of experience in elite as an assistant coach in hockey.
Yeah.
How important is it to have a group of around you, that supporting cast that gel together and complement each other?
Well, it's important, and we try to. It doesn't matter if you can be as big as a ball plank, or what you would call it, if you were the 18 coach or the 16 coach. We have full-time coaches on the whole junior side, so we work together. And if you need help, there's always someone who can bring something to the table, and I think that's really important. And it also makes us coaches have a little bit more confident and calm, we have people supporting us around, and then also we can contribute to the other coaches if they need it. Yeah,
I think that's important, and I think that you have a luxury of, within the big club, of having full-time dedicated professional coaches around you.
Yeah.
How would you describe that in comparison to the smaller organizations where you have either part-time head coaches and then volunteers around you. How important is that?
I mean, I think it's, as you said, it's a bit of a luxury, but at the same in the same way, I think it's important to, in the long term, creating confidence and calmness around the players. Like, we're working, same coaches working with them in the morning, same coaches working with them in the evening. We have time to sit with them during breakfast or videos. We don't have any other job that we need to be at, so we can put all our energy and all our time into the players. And I think for them, that's a huge thing.
Yeah. All right. So next thing I wanted to talk about here is, before we go into your team specifically, but I think, so a lot of questions that I get, we started this podcast with one goal, really, with two parts to it, but it's really to educate and inform. And the original intent was to educate and inform the North American market about Swedish junior hockey. It ends up being 2/3 of the people that are listening are Swedish or from Sweden anyway. But it's been fun. I mean, we're in the second year here now, but a lot of people from here, when I talk to scouts and GMs and coaches, they really don't know much about Swedish juniors, and they know a lot about Swedish players. They know a lot about Sweden, and they are very impressed with the Swedish player. But one of the things that I hear time and time again is it's hard to compare. I watch someone and it's hard to get, okay, they may get it on Instat and they say, how does his player skill translate, right? And it's really difficult to compare, and always try to compare J20 National to other things.
Yeah.
Right. So since you grew up there and you've coached there now for a long time, J18, J20, when we say J20 National, how good is the league?
I think skill-wise, it's a really good league. The high-paced game that is played is sometimes really impressive. On the other hand, sometimes there are a bit lack of understanding for the game. Maybe some guys plays too fast for their own best, and I think that's the most challenging thing now. If I compare it from playing myself and looking at the guys coming up in the juniors now, I mean, they outscore us in skating, in technique, in physics status, and everything. But I think there are not that common that almost every guy has a good playing sense. And I think growing up, that was the thing that maybe our generation had a little bit easier for, having the natural playing sense by doing many different sports, playing a lot of spontaneous hockey out on the fields and stuff like that, watching a lot of games. So I think the J20 National is a really good league and high pace league, good skill league. We need to. It's not bad, but I think we can do better in developing the player in their playing sense.
Yeah. What about the physicality? That's the other part that I hear. There's two things that I hear of Swedes coming into USHL or even North American Hockey League that I hear is the compete level sometimes is lacking, and the physicality is sometimes lacking. Where do you see that? When I say that, how do you react to that?
I mean, it's hard for me to compare as well because I haven't seen those league myself that the players are ending up in. But I think I can only talk for like how we try to do it in our club. And like, I would say that one of the best things that we have is the compete level. Every day with players coming in wanting to get better and really grinding to try to go and aim for their goals. But I can understand, and then I also like the physics part. Yeah, sometimes we would like players to be a little bit more physic, then also it's a little bit of a different type of game played here than it is in the American League. So hard for me to say, really.
Yeah, I think that is the biggest takeaway for me when I talk to people is that you can't really compare, and I think that because the rink is different, the style is different, the strategy is different between the two. The question really is, it's more about the individual and asking, does this person have what it takes to be able to pivot into a new role or a different playing style, and some of that, or a lot of it, isn't necessarily the physical parts or the skill-based parts of the hockey player, but it's the mental makeup. And are you willing to get into the dirty areas? Are you willing to be ruthless as a player? That sounds really bad, but
yeah, but I understand what you mean, and I think not only on the ice but off the ice as well. Like we talk about, like sometimes we need to really go deep in that cave you have inside your head, where it's dark, where it's cold, where it's not fun to be, but we need to be there sometimes to pushing the edges. And that's, I think, is more the mental aspect. Of course, it's individual, but I think you can help them push those limits a bit.
All right, so let's stop right there and let's peel the onion a little bit on that subject. So compete. So when we say Rogle have a strong compete atmosphere, how do you, as a coach, how do you foster that? How do you create that? How do you push that? And how do you take advantage of that in competition?
I think that the first thing that is really important for us is when we bring in players to our junior program, we try to make sure that they are the right type of characters. And now, last couple of years, I think we have succeeded in that part, and that makes the job a lot easier, because then they naturally have it, or most of them naturally have it. But then, of course, we try to always make it a good thing to practice extra. It shouldn't be something someone's making fun of, or thinking that he's a try hard or whatever. So like we've gone from players maybe 6-7 years ago thinking they were cool sitting drinking coffee instead of go up and doing some extra in the gym, where we is today, where like out in our shooting tent, you always hear the pucks out there. You see someone go up to the gym, someone sits on the bike or go on the extra ice, and I think that creates an atmosphere where players want to feel that I don't want to be any worse than the other guy. And then all of a sudden the wheel starts spinning, and then you have players without us coaches telling them, doing extra stuff all the time. That's pretty cool to see.
That's awesome. Talk about recruiting next. One of the things, so for J20, in years past, it seems like that the J20 team, in order to compete, Rogle's J20 has had a history of bringing in people from the outside, last year juniors, to fill spots to compete. Is that still the philosophy, or? I mean, you have what do you bring from within and go up from J18? I'm looking at your roster now, and I think like on Elite Prospect, there's 8 06s listed on there. So those, there's a lot of kids that are coming in from within.
Yeah. No, I think, like, as you say, now it depends a little bit. Of course, we're always looking, can we get good players in and have a good last year within our organization, or even where it falls out really well, like it did with Adam Bengtsson last year coming in from Djurgården. Was the plan to play a lot in the 20s, maybe be up with a pro team a little bit, and then see where it goes, and then he takes a spot straight away and contributes in the pro team. So he didn't play that much J20 with us, but of course, if there's an opportunity and we have a place to fill in the squad, we're always out looking for those kind of players. But on the other hand, as it is right now, we also feel really confident in the guys we have. So I think it's a mix of what you have and what's on the table, and then of course it's also a little bit how does it look in the pro team.
Yeah. How important is that? I mean, in terms of it's a little bit different. I mean, your role in J20, how important is that for the pro team?
I think it's really important because it's where we want to bring up players every year, getting a contract, and that's the last stop before going into our pro team. So the importance of the J20 coach and the pro team coaches having a good working environment and knowing what demands the pro team have on the 20 players and good communication in between. I think that's really important. And the last couple of years, that's been working really well in the organization, and that's also led to players getting some contracts.
Yeah, that's the other part about this conversation I think is interesting is how hard, I think I mentioned this earlier and we were communicating, how hard is it for the player to make it into the SHL from within?
Of course, it's hard. There's not that many spots, and the level up there being sustainable in the SHL, one of the top leagues in the world. So, I mean, it demands something from you. But on the other hand, I think, if we look at the last couple of years, also the numbers with the guys going from the J20 team and signing those contracts and contributing the pro team, and also signing NHL contract, gets drafted, I think that also shows that we have the opportunity in our organization to go the whole way up to the pro team. And that's also something that creates a hunger and a feeling among the players that it's not impossible. The shot is there. It's just you need to take it, and then you need to have some luck and take the opportunity when it comes. But as I said, like now we've had continuously players going up, signing contracts, and taking a big spot in the pro team. So it's hard, but the chance is there, of course.
Yeah. If we look at last year, how many of last year's age outs, so the 03 birth years, moved on to play in the SHL? Just so we can have a feel for it.
Yeah, I think we had Bengtsson. He was coming in late within our team, so but still he signed a contract. Then we have Oscar Pettersson, who is a 04. We have Marco, who is a 04, who played even the year before that and got a contract. Felix Nilsson been up a lot with the pro team last year. So if we look at it within our organizations, I think we filled up the spots pretty good.
Yeah. And the guys then that is that's a lot actually, but there's, a lot of other players on that roster that are this close.
Yeah.
And where do they go when they age out? I mean, where it's tough to then make a spot somewhere else too. If you don't make it in Rogle, it doesn't mean that you're going to automatically make it in Örebro.
No, exactly. That's how it is. And actually, we didn't, like in our 20 team last year, we didn't have that many guys born in the 03s because we had, I think, we started out with 18 players in the J20 team, and I think we ended up with 9 or 11 almost. So we had a pretty young team. So 03s going out was one guy hasn't signed yet. Another guy had to, unfortunately, stop playing because of injuries. So it's a little bit like the stats for that is not how can you say, not how it usually looks, because we had so few 03s in the last years.
Yeah. So if we're looking at this year's roster, you mentioned Oscar Pettersson is already drafted by Ottawa, and I guess already signed a deal, NHL contract, and is on loan, what I understand.
Yeah.
the chance of him playing a lot in J20 is probably not great this year.
No, he's not going to play in the J20, I think.
He's listed on your roster, but I'm sure that he's not on your lineup card.
No.
What about guys like, then you got people that like Axel Hurtig, Grästorp guy, that I know a little bit of. I actually watched him play last year in Falun when they had the national camp there. I was home in Sweden. Big guy, played on the national team. Probably maybe getting drafted here. Who else on this year's draft or on the draft board?
You have I think Felix Nilsson. He's gonna be picked, I think, pretty high. And then we have some other guys that can have a chance for the draft as well. And then some of the guys in the 04s are born late in the year, so they're not going from until next season. So it's a little bit of a mix. But on the other hand, I think, of course, it's you can name like those players being the top guys or the top prospects. But on the other hand, it's like it's so as we were into before, it's not that much that's in between the players, so you never know what's gonna happen. And also and that's also a trigger for the guys. Like they see good things happen to players around them. Why couldn't it be me next time? So because of that consistency we have within the team, I think.
So I'm interesting too, because of your background and your experience of you've been there and not too long ago. How do you influence that? You got A type personalities that have a pretty strong desire. These guys are elite athletes at a young age. How do you take your experience, and not as a group, which is a different thing, but an individual basis? How do you see your role in influencing their ability to take that extra step?
Well, for first of all, I say to the guys, you have either 3 or 4 years in this program, and don't be as stupid as I was, not doing what you could have done. So that's something I bring to the table, and an experience from me that I was way too lazy. I probably wouldn't have been that good of a player, but I never hit my roof because. Yeah. And that's something I try to give them. Don't leave with a feeling from here that you could have done more. Give yourself the chance. Be ready when the opportunity comes up, and then where it's end up, no one knows. But then you have done everything you can, and then you don't have the regrets.
How can you spot that player that you can see? There's more that the player doesn't either not utilizing or doesn't believe in, or what it may be. Is there, because I'm sure there's some that you're like, I don't have to do anything except for open the gate for this guy. He is pushing himself harder than I can ever. But then there's a percentage that are influenceable or whatever.
Yeah, of course. No, but I mean, of course you can see it, or you can feel the tendency for it, and then you need to address it with the guys, and that's also something that I think is important, to sometimes be uncomfortable with the players. Like if we practice, if we're up in the gym or out on the ice and we don't see players doing their 100%, or they need to put on more weights, well then I think it's my job to go and tell them. And sometimes be a pain in the ass, but it's for their sake. And I think the most important thing now, the players know me, they know how I work, and sometimes me or other coaches can be a pain in the ass, but if they have the understanding that we're doing it for their best, then it's often falls out pretty good. It's not to because we talk about this a lot. Like we don't think it's most fun to do those grind stuff all the time. We can do funnier things for the coaches as well, but we need to do it, and we do it for a reason. And as long as you're really clear in expressing why we do it, then it can be hard, but then they have another understanding for it. And I think that's also my responsibility. Like if I go around and see people not or players not maximizing their potential, well, I'm hired to try to develop young players, and that's one part of it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's the old Eminem song. You got one shot, one opportunity, but it's really that window is so short. And you know, as an adult, I heard this on a podcast the other day with Andy Paquette, and he said, you know, in your professional life, you can fail, and you can start over. You know, you can get a new job, you can move to a new city, you can start over many times. But as an athlete, as a young athlete, you got this one shot, and if you fail now, if you are underperforming or you are underutilizing or not taking that opportunity, it's fleeting. It's once the door it's going to be open for just a short period of time, and you better jump through it and go hard at it, or it's going to close and you can't open it again.
No, and then also like my hope is that doing this to the guys and reminding them of working hard and sometimes being a pain in the ass, something they can bring with them, because not every player is going to sign a pro level contract within our club, but to have that mentality when they come to a Division 1 club or Allsvenskan or wherever they go to push themselves and give themselves a shot to take the long way around, because we have good facilities, we have a lot of coaches, we have strength coach, we have on ice coach, skills coach, goalie coach, mental coach, and when you come to another place, maybe you're alone. You need to do it alone, and that's even harder than to do it within the team or do it with all the staff around you. So if we can educate players in pushing themselves, no matter if we're watching or not, then we have come a pretty good way, I think.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's round out here a little bit about your team coming up, and where are you in the season now? So we're in I guess you're getting ready to go into summer. You got midsummer coming up here now. Tomorrow. So
yeah,
and then you got a break.
Yeah, we had our last testing yesterday, so now we have a vacation practice at home at their own locations, and then we meet up together again in end of July.
Yep. And then you start what, couple of weeks of dry land off ice, and then get on.
No, we start with 3 days of testing off ice. When we come back, and then we go full on the ice August the 1st, I think.
Okay. So, and then season starts what, September?
Yeah, 2nd of September. So it's a pretty early start this year. So we have two practice weeks without school, and then we go away on a preseason tournament in Switzerland, down in Zug. With the 20 team, and then we have some more games, preseason games, both at home and away, and then we start up the 2nd of September. So it's a pretty short preseason this year.
Yeah. Prediction. So we're not that. I mean, I know you're a first year coach here, but what do you see? So prediction as a team, and who's going to be your standouts that we should be looking for?
Well, the predictions is like we always have our aim set to get in the top 5 positionings. That's what we should do to play the top 10 series after Christmas. Also because that's the best way to educate them is playing tough games. So that's what we're going for as usual. And then I think we have a lot of good guys this year, both second years and first years. So it's hard to say, but of course, Felix Nilsson is maybe the one that I get the most questions about right now. but we have really good players on the squad, both on the forwards and the Ds, the goalies. So hard to say.
Yeah. Who's the one that people are should be talking about, but they're not? Who's the dark horse out there?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that will
Reveal
show
itself.
Yeah, it will reveal itself when we go on, and I think that there could be some scouts or other guys who's watching our games and can get some really good players to look at that I hadn't expect from the beginning.
Yeah. It's so cool. It really, this is what's so great about Swedish junior hockey is it is an opportunity to be taken. There is limitless. There's no, everybody starts with a blank slate, and everybody there's no limits to where they can go.
No, and I think that's important, and that's something that we try to work a lot of. Like we have, of course, the things that are non-negotiable that everybody needs to do, and then within those frames, then you can be creative and try to stand out. And everybody has the shot to do it. And as you say, new season coming up, it's a blank sheet, and then it's always fun to see as a coach as well, guys that has had a good summer and matured a bit, that's coming in really hard that you didn't expect. So
yeah. All right. Let's say you meet yourself, Adam Bengtsson, 17-year-old coming in hockey gymnasium. What do you tell him that you didn't know then that you know now? What's your advice when you sit next to him and nudge him and say, hey, here's what you really need to know?
Stop whining and start running.
Yeah.
No,
Good
I don't
advice.
know, but I think that it's my advice to myself would have been, I think, really think through if this is really what I want, then I should prepare myself in the best way possible, even if someone tells me or nagging on me or not, because we can try to, we as coaches, we as a staff, other players around, we can try to help as much as we can, but when it comes to it, if you don't have it yourself and the mental aspects and prepared to sacrifice some things to try to be the best, then it's never going to work out. So I think it would be that.
Yeah. All right. Here's the last thing. And I didn't tell you this ahead of time. I need to get better at this. We've got a new partnership with Target Aid that is a fundraising platform. I'm going to send it to you to see if there. I don't know if Rogle already has a Target Aid initiative out there. If you do, then we will do our best to kind of put it up on our Target Aid platform and share that. I don't know if you're familiar with Target Aid, but
no,
it's a fairly new digital platform for fundraising for youth organizations in sports, not just hockey. And we want to partner with each guest. And if there's a charitable side that you want to put initiative of, even within Rogle or outside of Rogle, then we want to help with that. And we do that through targetaid.com. So they're not a sponsor of the podcast, but they James Reason was a guest before, and I feel really strong about using this platform with people to share things that they believe heavily in. So I'll send that information to you, and then we can help with that in the future. So Adam, thank you so much for being a guest. Up and coming, exciting new year, and we will see how it goes, and we're gonna wish you the best of luck, of course.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
All right, thanks.